What would you do if your next door neighbor's political views were diametrically opposed to your own? From gun control to the environment to the president. My next door neighbor and I are on opposite sides of the, well, fence, you could say. One of us is super liberal, the other is super conservative. One is a baby boomer, the other is a millennial. My next door neighbor's name is Chuck. He is this gruff, mustached, retired cop, and he looks exactly how you think a retired cop would look. He also has way too much time on his hands and an obsession with his leaf blower. But friends, the issue is that it's impossible for us to ignore each other. Chuck has lived in his house for almost 30 years. And we have been his neighbors for the last 15, perpetually disappointing him with how many weeds are in our lawn. And Chuck is always just there. When we are on our porch or in our kitchen, and Chuck goes to bring his garbage out or simply goes into his backyard because of, the leaf blower, he can see right in. When we have our bathrobes on with bed head before our morning cups of coffee, there's Chuck. Oh, there's Chuck. And Chuck is one of those special people that you just can't escape. But one day, 5 years ago, when I was home alone, I got a phone call from my doctor. Your test results came back positive for cancer. As this devastating news washed over me, I did the only thing I could think of. I ran out my front door, turned right, and knocked on Chuck's door. Chuck answered and immediately went into cop mode. What happened? Who did this to you? Sobbing, I tell him, I have breast cancer. Can I shoot it? As I'm sitting there on Chuck's couch, a hot mess, he tries to comfort me. You want a drink? You need a drink. I need a drink. And he proceeds to pour us 2 extremely large Jack and Cokes, and then calls my husband. Jordan, you need to come home right now. Your wife has cancer. Click. That is verbatim how Chuck told my husband. But on one of the most difficult moments of my life, Chuck was there. Over the years, I have realized that Chuck's love language is acts of service. Chuck shows you he loves you by helping. And if you do a favor for him, he has to repay it immediately. No matter how small the favor is, within hours, he will be there with a container of homemade pasta sauce because he made extra. And if he hears a hedge trimmer, he'll be there with his leaf blower. And every time we'd go out of town, Chuck was always there to feed our cats, even though it did take him almost 10 years to realize that he was feeding 2 of them and not 1. And we even went out of town together. Right before the pandemic, we took Chuck and his wife to New York to show them the city in a way they'd never seen it before. Well, mainly we showed Chuck how to use Uber on his phone. And every time we have a family function, Chuck will inevitably wander into our backyard and join us. Because Chuck has become family. And we love that Chuck is always there. When I was in chemotherapy, Chuck brought me to one of my sessions. And I had this tradition that at every chemo treatment, I would dance. We have crazy dance parties, and then I would post them to the internet. But The thing is, Chuck doesn't dance. And at one point, the nurse even came in and asked him, really excited, "Oh, are you going to dance with Aniela today?" No. But as I was sitting there in my chemo chair with this chemical cocktail slowly dripping into me, Chuck turned to me and said, "You want to dance?" When we moved in, Chuck didn't even recycle. Now they bring their food scraps over for my compost. And while we still don't agree politically, we have learned that we can still love thy neighbor. After 30 years in his house, Chuck is getting ready to move. And I don't know what I'm going to do without him or his leaf blower at 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And I don't know who's going to move in or what they're going to be like. But I do know that whoever they are, I'm going to do my best to be a Chuck to them. And I ask you, can you love thy Chuck in your life? Thank you.